started hearing whispers of Thrawn's return.
So is Star Wars back? The first episode of Ahsoka was very, very strong. I think what really worked was that the direction worked, the writing worked. I think Rosario Dawson did an excellent job of really reintroducing us to the character of Ahsoka. I think that they spent a lot of money on the sets, on the CGI, which was very effective. They had some really good battles or combat scenes. That really worked. So if you knew nothing about Rebels, would you be confused? Yeah, I think if you knew nothing about Rebels, you really wouldn't know too much about what's going on if you didn't know anything about the Rebels show. So that might have been a potential missing. But the thing is that the way they shot the scenes, the pacing, especially at the beginning, was pretty good. That it didn't really matter if you were a little bit lost because the pacing of the show was pretty good. So all of the so-called bad guys were really good. I mean, the acting was really, really good. So the Dark Jedis that are in this episode, their acting was superb. The Master, played by Ray Stevenson, rest in peace, superb acting. His apprentice, her acting was really, really good. And even like a quick riff on Dark Jedis, we would call them Dark Jedis, but really, I think the way the story's going, they might even have more power than the Dark Jedis by the end of this series. So if you only want two reasons to see this series, Ray Stevenson is a perfect reason. Second reason would be Rosario Dawson. That's enough, really. So if you don't want any spoilers, then you should probably stop now. I think the discovery of the map was really excellent. The way they handled that, and it was almost like a ceremony that Ahsoka went through. I think that was really superb. And then specifically like the cinematography and how they took care to really take shots on all the different images on the wall. So the first thought when you see Ahsoka Tano claim the peace that's going to lead to the expanded universe in which Thrawn is supposedly alive and potentially Ezra is still alive, it kind of feels like the figurines on the walls might be or look like they could harken back to the father, I believe it's the brother and the sister, and the father being the being that brought back Ahsoka Tano at one point in the Rebels. And that kind of comes across just when she's looking at the figurines. Now, of course, the figurines in reality are the ancestors of Morgan Elsbeth, and these are the Night Sisters of Dathomir, which the whole idea of witchcraft and fantasy is taking us off in another direction, which is probably a newer direction as far as Star Wars. So another very, very important part of the show that maybe nobody else mentioned, but I want to really mention, that's pretty much like 200 on 100%, or really 20 on 10. The soundtrack is superb. I think one of the best soundtracks in modern Star Wars history is what we have in Episode 1. The sound is very, very good. The soundtrack is superb. So, what are some things that people may not like? So, Sabine Wren acts like a 12-year-old. I don't know why they wrote her that way. I don't think that was originally the intention in the Rebels, or that was the original character. But the character that we have in Episode 1 of Sabine Wren is really like a teenage girl. I don't know how it really works, because it, as we'll see, it kind of drags a little bit. In addition, if we kind of look at Hera's a little bit flat. Once again, our saving grace is that we have a strong cast, pretty much all of the villains. At time, Morgan, the lady who plays Morgan, seems to overact a little bit. And for some reason, I feel at times that they're not really using Rosario Dawson. So these are some of the weak points that kind of bring it down. But overall, this episode was a solid episode. So you want, go ahead and go to www.sabkhaz.com. Support the channel with buying a t-shirt. Check it out. Thanks.
I'm not here to discuss my past.